Here's the interesting thing. Once we started to do internet marketing, the world becomes your sandbox. Today, we sell our products in 65 countries, our tangible products, our physical products. But our digital products are sold in more countries than that. That's really the future. Internet, digital, intellectual property in a social setting. So the internet starts, we ride that wave, but then once a customer has purchased this, and this was really a good one. Just to give you an idea, this is VHS tape. They made me promise that I would return this. This is One Day with Pat Parelli. We sold these for $600. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. And what it became clear to me is the people were drawn to the social part of Parelli as well as the horsemanship side. But once you've sold them that, what else do you sell them? You got an empty cart. So the next thing we came up with was an idea called the Savvy Club. And it's intellectual property delivered by the slice. You get a DVD a month, a magazine a month, and depending on, well, let me back up a minute. How many of you have a smartphone? How many of you have an Apple phone? Raise your hand. Come on. Raise your hand. How many of you have a smartphone? It's not an Apple phone. Good for you. Just so that we get a grasp. I gotta get my pointer. How many of you know when Apple introduced their iPhone? 2007, right here, 2007. So, are many of you hockey fans? Anybody a hockey fan? Any know Wayne Gretzky? How many people know the name Wayne Gretzky? Lots. Do you know what his nickname is? The Great One. You know that? Have you ever met him? I have. He's a little bitty guy. He's not what I expected for a hockey player. He's kind of small. And when I met him, I said, listen, you have to excuse me. I said, but my mental image of a hockey player is a big burly dude and, just beat the crap out of you. And I said, how did you become so successful? You're kind of a slightly built guy. And he goes, well, not only am I slightly built, I'm not a particularly fast skater. And he said, I don't have a very fast slap shot either. And I go, well, how did you do it? And he said, when I played junior hockey in Canada, 10 years old, if I have to fight for a puck, I'm not going to win. Because everyone was bigger, faster, stronger. And he said, here's what I did. He says, I would survey the rink and try to discern patterns in the rink. And he says, if you know anything about hockey, all the rinks are exactly the same size. They have a red line, they have a blue line, the goals are all in the same spot, the exact same number of players all the time. And he said, what I tried to do is discern patterns, and I would go where the puck was going to be. So me as a CEO, as a president, I go, all right. So like we did this internet thing, and it was cool. It was great. We did the Savvy Club thing, and that's pretty cool. But what's the future? So I took the metaphor that Wayne and I talked about, and this is it. So here's where we are today. This is 2012. These are smart devices. And you'll notice personal computers they're not projected to grow. In fact, I don't even think this is accurate. I think it's going to decline. But here's the important thing to remember. Mobile communication, mobile individual being your own art director, creating your own intellectual property is the wave of the future. How many of you in your company have an iPhone app? Raise your hand. How many have an iPad app? How many have another app? That's the future. That's the future. How many of you are intimidated by the technology of smartphones? But a 15-year-old isn't. Not at all. And they're going to be my customers for the next 50 years. So here's what I do. I trust the teenagers, and I trust the 20s. Our Savvy Club Vault, 3 decades of intellectual property that by being a member of the club, you can view any of our intellectual property for just your monthly fee. All of it, our entire archive. You'll notice our advertising has changed quite a bit. We have evolved Linda to be the spokesperson for Parelli. That started this year. Pat was the trailblazer, but if you're a student of the horse community, you would know that the majority of the horse-owning and horse-loving community are middle-aged women. Although some of them think that cowboys are cool, most of them think that Linda's cooler. We changed our marketing to We Are Parelli Worldwide to focus on the worldwide distribution of Parelli. Do we play it safe? Or do we reach for more? What do you think? Raise your hand if you think we reach for more. We're predictable. We came up with a product called Parelli Connect. Think of Facebook for horse lovers. Ours is a bit different. We've monetized this. Depending on your level of activity here that you want, self-paced, it's $10, $20, or $100 per month. This is what a Parelli Connect page looks like. Every day there are thousands of posts by Pat and Linda first, by all of the Parelli people, and all the Parelli people around the world. We have got an audience now that we've created a movement to change things in the world. I can mobilize 60,000 people in 1 second with this. Pretty powerful tool, don't you think? 41,000 members, 10, 20, and the $10 one is delivered digitally, so there's no cost of goods sold. For all you accountant dudes, raise your hand if your customers have products with no cost of goods sold. I didn't see any hands. How many of you pay-per-click? How many of you no, raise your hands high here. Good for you.
I'm going to share with you how it successfully worked for us. We hired a consultant named Heather Lutzy, and she monitored the traffic going to our website.
And what she said to me, she said, well, you know what, you got a beautiful website. You got a wonderful web presence. She said, but I'd like to do a little research project. She said, because I think you're missing a lot of opportunities. Now keep in mind that Pat and Linda are adamant. We don't train horses, we train people. The horses are perfect. So she comes back and she says, well, Mark, an interesting thing happened. She says, I monitored your website for a month and here's the results. And she said, to be perfectly honest, I thought they were going to be better. She said, but do you realize how much traffic there is? People going, and this is in 2007, people are searching on the internet for horse training. And I said, well, Heather, we don't do horse training. We don't do that. And she said, well, in the month that she did this, she said, you had 60,000 discrete visitors on your website, and that's okay. She said, but the number of searches on the 2 words horse training was 285,000. And she said, how many of those people do you think got a Parelli message? And of course, the knot in my stomach is the size of a basketball, because I know the answer, not one. You mean to tell me 300,000 people are searching for what I'm trying to sell, and they never got to me? And she said, behold the power of Google. I suggest that you consider a pay-per-click campaign and an SEO campaign. SEO is search engine optimization, keyword phrases that you want to own. Today, we own the word natural horse training, and that's how we did it. Now, it's like everybody speaks Greek, but I'm only speaking English, so I'm not communicating. So we inserted the word training so that we could get rank. So you go to a Google page, the first thing that, I have to back up, I'm sorry. The first thing that comes up, top line, horse training, click here. Learn to train your horse. That's my ad. And then you go in the body, the organic, and you'll see my stuff. And as soon as you do that, you click on that, that's where you go. This is what you see.
Hi, I'm Pat Parelli, and this is one of my equine partners, Aspen. First of all, I want to thank you for visiting this page. If you're having problems with your horse like biting, bucking, rearing, or trailer loading, then I want you to know I can absolutely help you solve them for life. For almost 30 years, my program has positively changed the lives of millions of horses and people around the world. In my free video, I can help you too. I can help you gain more confidence, more understanding, more expertise, and achieve a relationship with your horse that is closer than you've ever experienced before. To watch this video right now, just fill out the simple form below. While you're here, please take advantage of all the advice I've put on this page as well. Be assured we will never share your information with anyone else. Thanks for visiting and giving me a chance to prove to you that Parelli Natural Horsemanship is the ultimate way to train your horse and solve your problems.
Google Analytics, cookies, as soon as they're in here, I track them forever. They've given me permission by giving me their name and their address and so forth. Here's the beauty. The thing they watch, as soon as they click on that, your free video, is this one. Those are my returns on my pay-per-click investment per month. Per month. When I started as president of Parelli, we had a budget. It wasn't very big in the beginning, but at our high point, we would spend $70,000 per month on print media advertising. Today, we spend the same 70, but it ain't in print. It ain't all in print. We still have some print. This is the power of the future. That's why Google is one of the most profitable companies in the world. That's why Apple is one of the most profitable companies in the world. The question you should ask is, how do you maintain principles and relationships during growth periods? How many of you wear shoes? How many of you know Zappos? Zappos sold $1 billion worth of shoes without a retail store. And they're not special shoes, they're just shoes. And I find that remarkable because I'm an internet marketer today, and I call up the president of Zappos. His name is Tony Shea. Tony, I have questions. And he says, well, show me your website. We talk. I said, I want to learn how you have created this business, because yours, nobody comes to you. Nobody sees you. And he says, well, come to Henderson, Nevada. Pat and Linda and I and 3 of our executive team spent a week there. One of the books that, Delivering Happiness, is one of their themes. From that, we took our principles and developed a series of core values. You do this with your employees so that you have all buy-in. This is a lens through which you manage, grow, develop people. The prospective employees see this during the hiring process. If this doesn't resonate with them, it's not a good match. And even if they're technically, and I've made this mistake, I've hired technically skilled people who are individuals that are not relationship builders. But because they had technical skills, I hired them anyway. They're no longer with us. Put the relationship first is the most important part. Then we developed 4 corporate aims. These are published, they work for everybody, side to side, inside to outside, internal, external, top to bottom. These are our corporate aims. And this is how we run it. Putting the relationship first, 400 instructors. Those instructors all have come to the Parelli campus in order to get certified to be Parelli instructors. They're our outside sales force all over the world. These are the local people that have helped us a lot, and none of the things that we have been able to accomplish would be possible without them. I'll tell you an interesting story. We quickly outgrew the Pagosa market for banking in 2002. And so what I did is I said, well, I'm going to go to Durango and I'm going to look for the biggest bank. And I didn't turn right at the stoplight. I went 2 blocks down and I went to First National Bank at Durango, and I walked in and I said, listen, I have a business and I'd like to talk to one of the commercial lenders. And the lady says, well, the only one here is the boss, so I'll give you to him. Kent Curtis. Kent was the first one to hear our message, to hear our business plan, to hear our model. He has been instrumental in our growth. Kent introduced me to Ed Moreland. Ed has been a tireless supporter of Parelli. When we were doing the Savvy Club project, think of this. How do you get $10, $20, or $100 a month on a credit card from 40,000 people? How do you do that? And Kent and Ed said to me, well, you know what, there's a little company in Durango. They're just starting. And I know the people that are there. And Ed said, we provided some seed capital for them, some loans. And he said, here's their name, and here's the phone number, and here's their address. And I walked up, and I went to a place in, I think it was Bodo Park, I'm not sure. And the office is, and the door's locked. I knock on the door, door's locked, I knock on the door, and a guy comes out, and he goes, and he's got a sandwich in his hand, and he says, what do you want? And I says, I'm looking for Mark Katz at Mercury Systems. And he goes, oh, they're upstairs. And I walk upstairs, and there are 4 employees. 4. We are the 5th customer for Mercury Payment Systems. I never would have found them without the relationships with Ed and Kent. Keith Newbold has been our attorney for corporate affairs. Our intellectual property stuff is done by Baker and McKenzie. They're the world's largest doing this. But Kent has been with us all that time. Brad has been wonderful, absolutely wonderful. We're not an easy company to understand. John Francis and Paul Boyd, without them, our international business would be impossible. Impossible. High kudos to them. None of the success of Parelli would have been possible without all of them. Region 9, Pagosa Springs, Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade, Alice Kotralik has been a wonderful friend, coached me through a lot of stuff. Where are we today? Holy cow, you're kidding. From a guy in a pickup truck? A mustache and a hat? Really? What were the tools that we used to get here? There's a series of books. I'll share all of this, and you don't need to write much of this down. You want this slide deck, I'll give it to you. Just give me your email address and I'll give it to you. Tribal leadership talks about communities and the 5 levels that communities go through. And communities can be towns, and they can be government, but they can be any community. Parelli is in the Life is Great era. What's the future? Where are we headed? So when I came up with when I presented the idea of Parelli Connect to a fellow named Tom Windsor, he's the owner of 7 of the 11 equine publications in America. He says, hey, Mark, pretty good idea. He said, I think you're gonna do real well with that. He says, but let me tell you, and they deal with all the clinicians in America. He says, let me tell you what every clinician covets from Parelli. You are the only one with worldwide distribution and logistics, the only one. And he said, every one of them covets that. And he said, if you were smart, you would set up another company that would distribute their intellectual property in markets they aren't. And I went, well, how big is that? And he goes, well, what size do you think the natural horsemanship part is of the equine world? And I said, well, maybe 15 or 20%. He says, yeah, I'll give you that. He says, how much do you think you have of that? Oh, 70%. He says, good, so you've got 15% of the total market. So right now, you're not touching 85% of the market. The other clinicians are. And he says, the idea is to take their intellectual property and sell it in places they don't sell it today. That launched last month. These are the first 3 products. They're collaborative products. The lady, Colleen Kelly, is from Australia. Nate Bowers is actually from Denver. And Callie Krickenberg is originally from California. These are products that we developed with them, collaborative products. The Nate Bowers product it's just got a different band around it. First month sales for our first month rollout of this, $95,000. Keep in mind, this is digital media. Holy cow. Here's the other thing, because we're an international company, some of the finest clinicians in the world are in Europe. They don't sell their products here. Holy cow. We spent a month in Texas filming with 2 of the very finest dressage coaches from Germany. Those products will be unveiled at Equitana in April next year. Fulfilling our mission, help the world become a better place for horses and humans. Our bibliography, The 7 keys to success, according to Pat Parelli. Your attitude. I am now pathologically positive. A lot of P words. Knowledge, tools, technique, time, imagination, and support. Mark's 7 keys to growth. I learned those here. Anybody notice anything interesting about that slide? That's number 7. It's a little balloon that wants to dream about being a big balloon, a hot air balloon, the most beautiful, big, large, colorful hot air balloon in the world. You are what you think. You are what you believe. Be ready to shake hands with opportunity. I've been president for 2 years at Parelli, and the receptionist comes in and she says, I have an odd guy on the phone. Really? He's got a heavy English accent, and he'd like to know if Pat can do a presentation for the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. Let me talk to this person. And I say, is this for real? And he says, I'm the head of the Palace Guard. He said, the Palace Guard wants to give the Queen a lesson in Parelli horsemanship from Pat Parelli as a gift for her 75th birthday. And he said, we're paying for this. We have no money. And I go, he's coming. Pat has taught with Ronald Reagan, the Queen of England. We have Olympic gold medal, silver medalists, dressage. It's amazing what's possible. At the end of the day, if I could leave you with one thought, trust the 20-year-olds. My social media department has 6 full-time people in it. It is their job to get our message, our brand, out into the digital space. That is the future. That is the future. Now, I do it a bit, but I'm not that good. Trust the 20s. So now that I've taken up all of your time and I've told you a love story, I told you a story about passion, I told you a story about horses, can I answer any questions? Sir?
How much longer are you going to play?
Forever. Forever. Do I look like I enjoy this to you? Yep. And just so you know, I am a painful introvert. You could tell because I'm sweating like crazy. This is learned behavior. Humans can learn anything they put their mind to. I learned that here. Anything else? It's been an honor and a privilege to be here. When Donna called me and said to me, we have a keynote speaker engagement that we'd like to talk to you about, but we don't have any money. And I started to laugh, and she goes, you probably hear that a lot. And I said, you don't understand. I'd pay to do this. And she goes, really? You'll do this? And I said, I promise I'll do it. Now, I've kept you longer than I was allowed to do, but thank you very much for being a wonderful audience. It's pretty easy to find me. It's mweiler@parelli.com. I will answer any question, anything we do that you have, anything. Thank you so much.